Hello, this is Joshua Mack from Cornerstone Bible Church, and we are talking marriage and family. And lately, we have been talking about actually, the way that you communicate. And one of the reasons why we are talking about the way you communicate is because obviously you do a lot of it. Even if you're not much of a talker, you are always communicating. We can't help it. God made us communicating creatures, and not only do we do a lot of talking, the talking we do has a great impact, even when we're not saying anything very important. In fact, if most of the time we aren't saying anything very important, that's definitely going to have an important impact. The way you speak is going to impact the people around you. It's going to impact you. Your speech matters. It's going to have an impact on you. But not only does your speech impact you, it impacts all the other people around you. And I kind of want to just sort of put an absolute exclamation point on that, because I think we often underestimate the importance of how we talk on a daily basis. And yet, if you look at your family and think about the kind of family you want to have, there's hardly anything more important in terms of moving your family forward towards the kind of family you want to have, and more importantly, the kind of family God wants you to have, than the way you talk with one another on a daily basis. Your speech matters. It has an impact on you and others. A silly example, when you have bad breath, that doesn't impact you much. When I have bad breath, that breath doesn't bother me, but it definitely impacts the people around me, As you're speaking, they don't even want to be that close to you. Or better, I guess, when you're sick with a contagious disease, that's impacting you. But if you're not careful, when you're around people, it also impacts them in a big way, like the way you speak. The way you speak, according to the Bible, and we've been looking at the book of Proverbs, according to Solomon, can make people angry. Proverbs 15, verse 1 says, "A harsh word stirs up anger." And obviously, people are responsible when they get angry. If I get sinfully angry, I can't look at you and say, hey, it's your fault. But on the other hand, you can speak in a way that makes it easier for people to get angry. And it's important you understand and take responsibility for that. If you have a lot of angry people in your life, it might not just be a coincidence. Like, oh, I wonder, why are all these angry people around me all the time? It might be, at least partially, the reason you're around so many angry people is because the way you speak makes it easier for people to get mad at you. The way you speak has power. It matters. It can make people angry. It can break people as well. Proverbs 15, verse 4, "A gentle tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in it breaks the spirit." And spirit refers to someone's inner person. So this is deep. It's their attitude, their disposition, their outlook on life. And perverse, of course, means twisted. And in this verse, it's in contrast to gentle. So it's like there are these people whose tongues are twisted, in that they're not using their speech to care for people, to love their neighbor, but they're constantly finding ways to speak to others that actually belittles and minimizes them in ways that are just harsh, not gentle. And that kind of speech has the power to do damage at literally the deepest level of a person's being. The word break, it could be used to describe a jar that's dropped and just been shattered, a soul shattered. There's an old nursery rhyme that says, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me." And that's a lie, because words can hurt us in ways where the damage is more significant and longer lasting than any sort of physical pain, which may be why one of Solomon's very common illustrations for speech is that of a weapon. Your speech can be like a weapon. Listen to Proverbs 12:8. He says, "There is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts." If you want to understand the damage speech can do, you can imagine someone with a sword just going around swinging it. How would you like to be invited to his house as he's walking through the living room with that sword just swinging away? Or even worse, someone using a sword deliberately and intentionally to hurt people. He's taking that sword and attacking. And that's what Solomon says we can do to others with our words. They're that powerful. It's amazing how much damage angry words can accomplish in such a short period of time. especially the words of people who are close to you. The words of people who aren't close to you can do damage. So imagine the words of people that are close to you, especially in relationships that God designed to be close. It's a blessing that fathers, the words they say in God's design can have a major impact for good on their children's lives. But that same impact for good can really be reversed and made for harm, done something that does great harm. James describes our speech like a fire in James 3. Solomon says it's like a weapon. James says it's like a fire. And James there is trying to get people to take the way they speak seriously. And so he uses all these illustrations to help them. And one of the illustrations he uses is that of a forest that's been devastated by fire. You can think about that. How great a forest, he says. It's like, look at this forest. This place used to be amazing. It was green. It was lush. I used to walk through here and there was life everywhere. And now it's gone. It's all gone. It's only dark gray ash and death left behind. And how did that happen, you wonder? How was that much damage done so quickly? James says, how great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire. And the emphasis is on small. It doesn't take much fire to do a lot of damage. And here's the thing. The tongue is a fire. It may seem small, your speech. It may seem like it's not an issue. What's the big deal? But it can do a lot of damage, and it can do that damage very quickly. And that's why the way you speak matters. It has power to ruin lives. Your life, the lives of others. And yet, on the other hand, it also has the power to do a lot of good. And this is where it gets a little more exciting, because it's true. Your speech can ruin you. But it's also true your speech can save you. Proverbs 14:3, by the mouth of a fool comes a rod for his back. A fool speaks in a way that brings unnecessary pain into his life. It's his mouth that brings the rod. But Solomon continues, the lips of the wise will preserve them. And preserve means save, rescue, deliver. Proverbs 12:6 puts it like this, the words of the wicked lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright delivers them. It delivers them. For one thing, because the way a good man speaks makes it easier for people to trust them. The way you talk, whether you like it or not, influences other people's attitude toward you. And as a result, your speech has the power to save you because your speech can help people trust you, even when it's hard to trust you, which is important because obviously in life, there are going to be things that come up in pretty much every relationship that cause us to wonder about someone. And it's not always even their fault. It's like in a marriage relationship. There might be a husband who says to his wife, he's coming home at a certain time and he means it, but then the car he's coming home on breaks down and his phone isn't working, and so he's not able to get home on time or tell her. And yet the kind of person who's trustworthy, who's known for speaking the truth, his speech delivers him, if you know what I'm saying. For years and years, he's proven to his wife, he only says what is true. And so she has no reason to doubt. And yet, on the other hand, if he's not been trustworthy, at that moment, the way he's spoken in the past gets him in trouble, even if this time he actually is saying the truth and telling her what happened. To come at it from another angle, the way you speak can deliver you because it keeps you from saying things that are stupid. It's not only saying the right things that makes a person good at communication, it's also not saying the wrong things. And Proverbs talks about that, like Proverbs 12:13. An evil man is ensnared by the transgression of his lips. He gets in trouble because of the things he sinfully said. Where the righteous man, on the other hand, escapes from trouble, he's delivered. Why? Partially because he didn't say the things the wicked man said. He knows when to talk and knows when not to, and that matters. That ability right there has power because not only does it keep him from sinning, it also keeps him from being embarrassed as well. I think of Proverbs 18:13, which says, if one gives an answer before he hears, it's his folly and shame. And there are people, and we can actually all be a little like this, who think they know so much more than they know, and so they talk without gathering information, and that shames them because so often they say more than they know. And yet, on the other hand, the person who knows how to speak is able to control himself and doesn't speak until he really understands what's going on. And that ability saves him from saying something that's not helpful. Or saying something that just creates an argument where there didn't need to be one. the way you speak has an impact on you, and it has an impact on the people around you. If you learn to control your speech and speak in a way that God says is helpful, it will do you good, and it has the power to change other people's lives for the better in some pretty amazing how did that happen ways. Proverbs 12:18, the tongue of the wise brings healing. He's not talking about physical healing here. He's talking about knowing the right word to say at the right time, in the right way. If you know the right word to say at the right time, in the right way, your speech can bring peace to someone who's worried. It's like their worry is sickening them, and your speech heals. Maybe you remind them of a promise of God, and suddenly they have hope. Your speech can diffuse a potentially volatile situation. You come into the room and people are on edge and there's a tension. It's an unhealthy room spiritually. And you can speak in a way that heals, that takes the tension away and brings those people together. Your speech can help someone know what to do when they're confused. It's like they're blind, and you say something that enables them to make a choice that changes their life and the life of others forever. You help them see. It can save people, your speech. And this is amazing. God can use your words to save someone from going to hell and enable them to go to heaven and be with him forever, which is why I keep saying how you speak matters. Take it seriously. It's life or death. And I'm not just saying that. Proverbs says that. Proverbs 18:21. Solomon says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. That's heavy. Your tongue, my tongue, the way we speak can be an instrument of death in our families' lives and everything associated with death, rottenness, decay, sickness, or it can bring life. How you speak matters. And so I want you to spend some time thinking about the way you speak. It's good to know, of course, that speech is important, but you also need to know what to do so that you can speak well. And the whole Bible answers this question, but next time we talk about this on the podcast, we're going to focus our attention mostly on Proverbs for the goal of answering the question, if speech is this powerful, what should we do? What kind of difference should that make in our everyday talk? But that's next time. For now, let's pray that God helps us become people who speak in ways that brings life to our family and not death.